Good afternoon and welcome to Ivy Madness. Right now we're excited to be joined by the Columbia Lions. Joining me on stage is head coach Megan Griffith, as well as student athletes Perry Page and Riley Weiss. We'll start with some opening comments from Coach and then move into questions from the media. For the media in attendance, if you have a question, please raise your hand and we will bring a microphone over to you. For those joining us via Zoom, please use the raise hand function. You will be prompted in the chat when it is your turn to ask a question. Please state your name and affiliation before asking your question. Coach, over to you.
Yeah, well, we're excited to be here in Ithaca and get started tomorrow night. You know, it's been a great 70 to 30 degree swing in weather, just like we expected in March in Ithaca. So here we are, but ready to attack no matter what happens. Excited for everybody to hear from the Ivy League Player of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, you're in, Jen.
Hey everybody, Jen Hatfield with the 9 basketball. I'll start with the Defensive Player of the Year. Perry, first of all, congratulations, but also just wanted to ask you a little bit. Meg's told us about kind of the players-only scout meetings that you guys do the night before games and kind of how you and Susie as captains kind of have put your own spin on it. So just kind of curious to hear from your perspective what you try to do in those meetings, like how you run those and how you think they've helped the team. And Riley, if you want to weigh in on that last bit as well, feel free.
Yeah, for sure. I think we tried to implement that kind of in the second half of Ivy League play. It's just kind of getting with like our positional groups and just talking about like how as our positional groups, like what we need to do to exploit and also defend. We also try to do like a little bingo game, you know, so we do like BINGO and just give us like little goals that we try to accomplish within the game. And then our positional coach would kind of get us a little incentive after if we get all of those and like a little bit of a bonus as well. But we kind of just put a little bit of fun into it just to kind of listen to like what we need to follow and execute the game plan, but also, you know, for us to stay more locked into it as well and understand like why we do those things.
Yeah, Perry covered it pretty much. Feels covered. But yeah, those are just really good meetings to talk through a bunch of the scout, and we are the ones playing, not the coaching staff, so it's important and we know the reason behind why we're doing things, and yeah, and that in the end will help us execute as well.
And congrats to you also on Player of the Year. And for both of you guys, you know, another thing Meg keeps talking to us about is kind of the leadership of this group and, you know, how Perry, you and Susie have led as captains, but Riley, she's also kind of challenged you and Fliss to step up. And I'm curious for both of you kind of how that's felt and how you know, kind of bring out the best in each other as leaders or kind of give and take with that.
Yeah, I think it's good just to learn how to be a good leader, but also be a good follower as well, and kind of shifting our framework. After our last depend, we kind of wanted to be able to empower both Fliss and Riley, both as leaders, and then also Maria, our point guard too. So the 5 of us collectively, we talk a lot heavily about like what the team needs, but like what we need from us individually as well, and how we can call them up to that standard each day. But yeah.
Yeah, so what Perry said, it's about what the team needs. So I think it's been nice having that distribution of leadership and it coming from different places and being able to figure out what works.
Meg, one for you. Tomorrow with your pressure, Harvard's pressure. Just curious, I don't think I've asked you this before, even though you guys have both pressed for a while. Like, how do you see kind of the similarities and differences between your press and Harvard's press and like what you guys are trying to do strategically, what it looks like, all that good stuff?
Yeah, in terms of what both teams are trying to accomplish is similar, but how we go about it is very different. They like to run and jump you a lot. We call it like ramming too. So ramming's trapping in front, running and jumping is trapping from behind. We do that, but it's not as it's a little bit different and structured differently. So not to give away all of Carrie's secrets, I'll let her do that. But you know, it's like our love story. Us and Harvard, I always say, is like there's runs and swings, and it's super physical, and you know, it's going to be a battle tomorrow that I'm looking forward to, and you know, just coming off of literally less than a week ago, I think we're all ready to get back after it.
Rob Brown, Ivy Hoops Online. Riley, this is for you. First one. After the Princeton game, Coach was talking about how at halftime, she sent you out of the locker room and wanted you to kind of like deal with your ego and then come back. And I said, well, how did Riley take that? And she said, I don't know, you should ask her when you see her. So I guess my first question is, how do you feel that day?
Yeah, so I mean, everything that Coach she challenges us with, it comes from a place of love, and she wants to get the best out of us. She knows how to do that, so it's just about trusting her and knowing that she knows what's right in the moment and just diving into whatever she wants you to do.
Following up, I guess, with Harvard, the 2 games have been challenging offensively for you. What has Harvard been doing to you to get those results, and what do you need to do to flip the script?
Yeah, like Coach G just mentioned before, they ram a bunch, so just sending doubles. They try and crowd you, speed you up, so just remaining calm, keeping a blue head like we've talked about all year. Yeah, just remaining calm, making poised decisions, being patient is what I need to do, what we need to do to be successful in this game.
And for Perry, you and Susie have a tremendous resume over the 4 years. The one thing that's missing is the Ivy tournament title. What have the 2 of you learned over the previous 3 tournaments that are going to help you lead this team to the championship on Saturday?
I think for us, just having a blue head, like Riley talked about, but also like the togetherness piece, like letting one mistake or adversity hit into the game, that's going to happen at some points. But like, how do you respond to that? But also, how do we all stay on the same page, us 5 collectively, us on the floor? I think in the past 3 years, we've had those moments, but we've kind of separated it in islands. But we need to be able to just be conjoined, get on the same page, and move on to the next thing.
And Coach, I mean, the Harvard games have had a similar script. How do you guys prevent, like you take that lead on Harvard, how do you really make sure like they don't get back in it?
Yeah, the game will get chaotic, and playing in chaos is something that we have to just be ready for, right? And that's something we've talked about all week. This has been a really hard week, right? We haven't come in and say, oh, let's just rest our bodies and get ready for this game on Friday. We're simulating adversity every single day, and how do you handle that? How do you combat that? How do you stay, as Perry just talked about, together and on the same page? And I think they're understanding what we do in those moments versus just being reactive. And I think the more that you can have a predictable or planned response for something, the better you are and more ready to execute it. And that's just how our team has seen the most success, honestly. So I would just say that they've done a great job like buying into this new game plan and just, hey, when we're up by 10 or even down by 10, like realizing that the game's going to take swings, but you can stop runs, you can stop the bleeding, and this is how we're going to do that. So.
Hi there, Ryan Junio with ESPN Ithaca Radio. First question, I'll start with Perry. This is the second straight year now that a Columbia player has won Defensive Player of the Year. So how cool is that to kind of follow in Kitty Henderson's footsteps and win this award?
Oh, amazing, my girl Kit. I mean, she taught me well. I mean, I don't think our games necessarily resemble each other, but she's a dog out there. And I think I kind of take that from her as well. But I'm just very excited that I was able to follow in her footsteps there.
Next question for Riley. I mean, you're top 20 in the entire nation in scoring. I mean, there's obviously a very elite list of players just throughout the nation in that. So I guess over the past couple of years, how have you been able to really kind of elevate your scoring prowess?
Working on scoring in different ways, being a 3-4 level scorer, and just implementing that, not just relying on the 3, especially when it's not falling, and scoring in different ways.
And Coach, last one for me here. Obviously, with Harvard coming up tomorrow, having played them to end the regular season, how beneficial is that in a sense where you get immediately a second crack at the Crimson?
That's great. I literally cannot wait. I wish we could have played on Sunday. But here we are, 6 days later, ready to battle them. And, I'm just been looking forward to this matchup. It's been the past couple years we've ended with Cornell and, we've ended a different route, right? So I do think that there's a level of readiness and attack mode that we have been able to now carry into that. And, we all have great competitors in our league. Everybody's gotten a lot better from even last year to this year, but I do think there's like an added extra bonus of having to play the team that you just lost to. So for us, I see that as a huge advantage.
We'll move over to Zoom with Steve Silverman.
Thanks, Steve Silverman, Ivy Hoops Online. Hey, just to follow up on that, Coach, I think it is fair to say that Harvard has been a bit of a spoiler for you guys the last 2 seasons. It kind of spoiled your coronation at the Ivy League tournament last year, and then they spoiled another coronation for the regular season title just last week. And we can all see that it's very meaningful to you to have a second crack at them right away. But I mean, how do you use that motivation to fuel you in a positive way? Is there any risk that emotion becomes a negative in some way, or do you see it as purely being a positive motivator?
I don't know if I use the word positive. Like that's not a word I use often in terms of like you dictate your energy, right? And to me, our energy is as long as it's in sync and it's tethered, it can be good, bad, ugly, whatever word you want to use, positive. But for me, it's all about being on the same page and just ready to attack whatever's in front of us. And as long as we're ready to do that, with the leadership of these two, I know we're going to be doing exactly what we need to do tomorrow night.
And then if I could just ask a minute about officiating, because I think both teams, Harvard and Columbia, play a very physical game. Some of your contests are like rock fights. How do you want this game to be? Let me just preface this by saying that I think there's been very uneven officiating this season. And so what are you guys thinking about, that X factor of how the game is called, and how are you hoping to see it called?
Well, I just hope that the game is officiated the same way in both halves. I think that's honestly the biggest issue that we've had all conference season, which we can talk about in April, right? But unfortunately, we can't change anything with that right now because the refs are the refs, and we got to have great respect for what they do. And honestly, it's just about which team can adjust to that the quickest. I do think that you've seen us both do that, I think. But over the course of the season, it's going to be that, right? And right now, that's what matters the most, is just who's going to adjust as the game is being called.
Thank you.
And we'll wrap up with one final question from Fliss Henderson.
Oh, no.
Okay, Fliss Henderson, Sydney Morning Herald. I have a question for Riley. You have roomed with someone on the team for 3 years. What would you say the biggest takeaway or lesson you've learned from them is, and would you keep rooming with them?
Oh, the biggest takeaway. That's a hard one. The biggest takeaway.
She's speechless.
Wow.
I don't know if I have the biggest takeaway. I'll have to think about that one. But would I keep rooming with them? I will be in a single next year.
Wow.
Give this girl her own room. Player of the year, baby.
Wow.
Thank you for the question.
You're welcome.
Harry,
not thanking
Riley,
you
and
for the
Coach, thank you very much for your time, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you.